If you're playing chess online or in a serious tournament setting, you're most likely going to end up using a chess clock. In this video, I'll go over what a chess clock is used for, what they look like, and how they affect the basic rules of chess. First, the absolute basics. A chess clock is going to look something like this. The time for each player is displayed here. When someone makes a move, they will then press the clock, which, as you can see, makes their opponent's timer start running. A chess clock is used to keep track of the amount of time each player spends on their moves and to make sure it doesn't exceed a specific amount. The amount of time you're given over the course of a chess game is called the time control, and there are a few different types of time control that we'll be going over here. The one thing to remember is that if the time on one player's clock reaches 0, that player loses. There are exceptions, but we're not going to talk about them until the end of this video because they are rather rare. If you have a tournament game in 1 minute and you have no idea how the clock works, that's all you need to know before you start. However, it can be useful to know more about chess clocks, so in this video I'm going to go a bit more in depth. The easiest time control to understand is one where each player is given a specific amount of time, like 5 minutes, that has to last the entire game. It's easy to understand. If either player spends more than 5 minutes in total to make their moves, they lose. If you set the time control to 5 minutes per side, the game can't last more than 10 minutes. That's why this time control is good if you are trying to get a game over with quickly. However, most tournaments add something known as increment or delay. Both of these work almost the same way. They each add a couple of seconds every time you make a move to make it harder to lose on time. However, increment actually adds the extra time to your clock, and delay pauses your clock until the extra time is up. So for example, if I have 30 seconds in the increment of 5 seconds, if I make my move in 1 second, that would mean I have 34 seconds when I'm done, which is more than I started with. However, if I have 30 seconds and the delay is 5 seconds, even if I spend only 1 second to make my move, I don't get any extra time. Those are all the time controls you're likely to see until you start playing in larger competitive tournaments, which add something extra. As soon as the players reach a certain move number, the clock adds an extra amount of time to each player's clock. This allows the player to spend more time than they normally would at the beginning, because they know they're getting a big chunk of time back later in the game. However, this is tricky to set up, so it's usually only seen at higher level tournaments. Congratulations, you now know everything about time controls. If you end up getting a chess clock for yourself, it'll probably have a bunch of them already preloaded onto it. And you can usually figure out how to use them based on the instructions that come with the clock. There's one more thing I have to cover though. There are two special ways that the chess clock can force the game to end in a draw. The first way is if someone loses on time but their opponent has no possible way to checkmate, the game is declared a draw. A useful way to remember this rule is to think of time running out as a signal that the player whose time ran out must play the worst possible moves. If even that is not enough to lose the game, it's a draw. Otherwise, and usually, it's a loss. The second way is if both players run out of time, the game is declared a draw. This is extremely rare, but it can happen if the players don't notice that their opponent lost on time, or if there is a lot of lag playing online. Alright, now you know basically everything about chess clocks and their special place in the rulebook. I know that this can seem kinda like an information overload, but that's because I'm working to tell you everything you'll find useful as a player, and not just everything you strictly have to know. I hope you found everything in here useful. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.